Prologue. Last time we checked in with Bob and his wife Karen, they had just won the opportunity to perform their country line dance routine on Club Dance, the TNN country western dance program hosted by Shelley Mangrum. Bob did not perform as you might expect, however. For example, Bob's attire for the program included a sheer white blouse with red fringe and a flippy red skirt. Under those, Bob was wearing a white lace camisole with matching undergarments and sheer, white tights. He was also wearing a pair of white satin dance briefs monogrammed with the name Missy. Bob had been gradually influenced by his wife to wear skirts and other feminine attire due to his admiration for the dance program where they had recently been featured. You see, Bob, aka Missy, admired the elegant appearance of the dancers' outfits, often including fancy lace undergarments. Karen, seeing an opportunity to involve Bob in her love of dance, had used this interest to encourage Bob to embrace a more feminine side, leading to his now regular attire of silky lingerie and dresses. During our last story, Bob's situation had been discovered by his female office staff, who planned to take full advantage of the fact that their usually authoritative boss was now forced to wear more feminine outfits than they did. Additionally, Bob/Missy had been taking dance lessons from a professional dance instructor who also specialized in helping men embrace more feminine appearances through dance. Back to work. It had been an incredible weekend. Performing the dance routine on Club Dance was an experience of a lifetime. Doing so dressed as he was, Bob's experience was particularly notable. Bob had to admit that he enjoyed the experience, even though he felt quite vulnerable in the attire he had been asked to wear. He was relieved, however, that it was now over and hoped life could get back to normal. Karen, on the other hand, had other plans for Bob's future, spending much more time as Missy. On Monday morning, Bob began his regular routine, first removing the nail polish and any makeup traces. As had become his habit, he shaved his legs and underarms in addition to his face while in the shower. Stepping out of the bathroom to dress for work, Bob was surprised to find Karen laying out his clothes for the day, and they included feminine undergarments. "Wait," Bob insisted. "The dance lessons are over, and I've gone through with the TV show appearance. I thought this was all supposed to be done now so I could go back to normal." "I'm afraid not, Missy," Karen replied calmly. "I understand how much you like these pretty, delicate items, and I don't want you to miss out on the opportunity to enjoy them. In fact, from now on, I will be choosing your outfits and managing your appearance. I have plenty of proof I could share with your friends and family if you choose not to cooperate. Imagine how your father might feel if he saw photos of you dressed in your pretty lingerie or watched the club dance performance." Bob blushed deeply with embarrassment. He knew there was no choice but to comply with Karen's demands, fearing what might happen if his secret got out. As Bob surveyed the outfit Karen had chosen for him, the phone rang. Karen answered the phone and told Bob it was his assistant, Carol. "Yes, Carol, she will be in today," Karen said into the receiver. "Missy is just getting dressed now. Is there something you'd like her to do for you?" Bob could hardly believe what he was hearing. Karen was referring to him with female pronouns, and it was obvious that Carol was already aware of Bob's new persona. After finishing the call, Karen told Bob he was to stop for bagels on his way to work today. "She's treating me like an assistant, not the other way around," Bob thought to himself. "Come on, Missy, let's get you ready for work," said Karen. "I don't want you to be late for Carol." Karen handed Bob a delicate pair of yellow panties with a lace waistband. After closer inspection, Bob noticed that they were day-of-the-week panties with Monday embroidered on one hip. He realized there were probably other pairs for the rest of the week. He understood that this would likely be a daily occurrence. Karen then helped him into a white camisole with lace trim and tan tights. His outfit included a light blue blouse with buttons on the left side. Despite being cotton, the blouse subtly revealed the outline of his undergarments. The pants were coffee-colored, snug women's slacks with no pockets. Bob could clearly see the outline of the panties beneath the pants. Karen handed him a pair of penny loafers, but refused to let him wear socks. His tights-clad ankles were obvious under the pants and became even more noticeable when Karen added a small ankle bracelet. Once dressed, Karen led Bob to her vanity, where she added a light touch of mascara, sheer lip gloss, and pale pink nail polish. She also placed small hoop earrings in his ears. Karen didn't want Bob to appear too feminine. She enjoyed the challenge of maintaining his masculine traits while dressing him in feminine attire. She finished with a spritz of perfume, sending him on his way. As Bob was getting ready to leave, he realized there were no pockets in his slacks, and he had nowhere to keep his wallet and keys. "I guess you'll have to carry a purse," Karen said. "Let me pick one out for you." Karen returned with a brown leather purse, which she filled with Bob's keys and wallet, as well as a nail file, nail polish, and perfume. "I've added a few essentials in case you need to freshen up during work," she explained. "And don't forget to stop by Macy's on your lunch break to buy a women's wallet." Bob responded sarcastically, "Oh, perfect. Maybe I'll need that when I use the ladies' room at work." Bob didn't realize just how accurate his comment was. As Bob left the house, Karen gave him a quick kiss on the cheek and patted his bottom. "Have a great day, Missy," she called as he got into his car. "Say hello to the other girls for me and don't forget the bagels." At the office. When Bob walked into the office, he was already frazzled from his experience at the bagel shop. Two teenage girls behind him in line had noticed the outline of his undergarments and the shape of his bra beneath his blouse. The girls giggled and pointed, managing to attract the attention of everyone around. Thankfully, Bob had left his purse in the car and carried money in his hand, as his slacks had no pockets. The girls' laughter echoed as he paid and hurried out to his car. The first person Bob encountered in the office was his assistant, Carol. Upon seeing him, she rushed over and gave him a hug, wishing him a good morning. While embracing Bob, Carol snapped the leg opening of his panties and whispered in his ear, "Good morning, Missy. What color are your pretty panties today?" Bob meekly replied that they were yellow and hoped nobody else had heard. Carol, however, was determined to have fun with his situation. She snapped his bra strap, making a loud noise, and commented on how pretty his outfit was. She eagerly anticipated what other surprises Missy would bring to the office. Once in his office, Bob settled into the routine of his duties. Mid-morning, Bob needed to step out of his office for a break. He took his key to the executive restroom from his desk drawer and quietly proceeded to use the restroom. However, he found that his key didn't work. After some frustration, Bob returned to his office and asked Carol if the lock had been changed. "No, Missy, the lock is the same," Carol said. "You were probably trying the wrong restroom." "Did you try the ladies' lounge?" she asked with a knowing smile. "Of course not," Bob replied, embarrassed. "I can't use the ladies' room." "I think you'll find your key works much better for the ladies' lounge," suggested Carol. "You might also want to take your purse with you. It's a good idea to freshen up a bit." Bob, feeling too flustered to argue, retrieved the purse from his desk and went to the ladies' lounge. The key worked perfectly in the lock. Inside, Bob rushed into a stall. One of his colleagues, familiar with his predicament, kindly reminded him to adjust his posture properly. Bob followed the advice, sat down, and quickly finished. When he exited the stall, Carol was waiting for him at the mirror. "Let's freshen you up," Carol said with a smile. "A girl has to work hard to stay pretty," she added. Bob showed Carol the contents of his purse, and she applied some lip gloss to his lips. She also helped him spray a little perfume on his neck and wrists. "It's nice to see you were prepared," Carol pointed out, noticing an extra pair of undergarments in his purse. "You never know when you'll need them," she added playfully. When lunch came, Bob tried to slip out of the office quietly to buy a new wallet as instructed by his wife. As he passed Carol's desk, she called him over. "Where are you headed, Missy?" Carol asked. "To the mall," Bob replied, not wanting to elaborate. "Be a sweetie and pick up a few things for me while you're out," Carol added. "I could use some supplies. I didn't bring enough for today. Could you grab some personal care items for me from the drugstore? I'll need some pads and liners." Bob nodded reluctantly, dreading the embarrassment that was sure to come from the errand. At the mall, Bob easily found a women's wallet and transferred everything from his old one into it. However, his real challenge came at the drugstore, where he had to pull the feminine wallet from his purse to pay for the items Carol had asked for. The cashier raised her eyebrows with a knowing smile as Bob paid, and a few people in line behind him chuckled. Back at the office, Carol thanked Bob for picking up her items and then handed him a box of pads. "Go freshen up and be sure to use one of these," she instructed. "Keep yourself prepared and make sure to change as needed. I'll set a reminder in your calendar to help you stay on track with your routine. I'll expect you to have everything ready, and I'll check to make sure you're following through." Bob, feeling humiliated, complied with Carol's instructions and followed the routine she had set for him. Later that day, Bob checked his calendar and noticed recurring reminders, each marked with a pink bow icon. When Bob arrived home, Karen was pleased to learn how thoroughly Carol had helped feminize her husband, further deepening Bob's discomfort and Karen's satisfaction. A new connection. 3 weeks after the last gathering, Karen invited Carol and her husband, John, over for dinner. However, she decided not to inform Bob about the invitation, preferring to surprise him. Karen asked Carol not to mention it to him beforehand, adding an element of surprise to the evening. On the night of the dinner, Karen casually informed Bob that, as was becoming customary for special occasions, Missy would be making an appearance that evening. She instructed Bob to shower and prepare himself. Once he had showered, Karen had laid out an outfit for the night, which was more elegant and soft than usual. Bob was to wear a sheer white dress with a light, playful skirt, and beneath it, his lingerie was subtly visible. He wore sheer tights with pink sandals that gave him a graceful, delicate appearance. His nails were painted, and he styled his hair using Karen's mousse, finishing the look with a touch of makeup and a light pink hue on his lips. When Carol and John arrived, Carol asked Bob to greet them at the door. As he opened the door, he wore a white pinafore over his dress, keeping the atmosphere light and cheerful. John was initially surprised, not recognizing Bob at first, until Carol greeted him. "Hello, Bob. You look lovely tonight," Carol said, with a teasing smile. "Maybe we should start calling you Missy tonight." John couldn't help but be surprised by Bob's appearance, though Carol's playful teasing seemed to amuse her. As Bob turned to escort them into the living room, John was somewhat taken aback by Bob's outfit, noticing the attention to detail. Carol couldn't resist commenting, knowing that Bob likely felt embarrassed by his outfit and the attention it drew. "Those are lovely," Carol said, eyeing Bob's outfit with a playful smile. Bob, feeling both humiliated and obedient, softly replied, "Thank you, Miss Carol." Unbeknownst to Bob, Carol and Karen had been bonding over their shared experiences in exploring a more expressive side of their husbands. Over time, Karen had offered guidance to Carol on how to gently encourage John to embrace his own softer side, a process that had been much quicker with John than it had been with Bob. John had seemed more open to the idea of exploring femininity, especially when it came to his personal expression. Bob, preoccupied with his own feelings of discomfort, didn't initially notice anything unusual about John's behavior. But as the evening went on, he began to notice subtle signs that something was off. John seemed more withdrawn and frequently blushed when Carol whispered to him or gave him a knowing glance. After dinner, Bob served coffee in the living room and, in a moment of observation, realized that John appeared to be wearing something under his clothing, something that seemed more feminine. Bob became curious and decided to discreetly investigate. When John excused himself to use the bathroom, Bob saw an opportunity to confirm his suspicions. The bathroom door had no lock, and Bob decided to follow him, hoping to learn more about what he had noticed. Bob accidentally stumbled upon John in the bathroom and saw that John had, in fact, embraced a more feminine style, similar to Bob's own experiences. Both John and Bob were startled by the encounter, and as John tried to cover up his surprise, he ended up feeling deeply embarrassed. Karen and Carol entered the bathroom shortly after, and Bob, ever the comforting figure, gently offered reassurance to John, who was visibly upset. "Isn't this a charming sight?" Karen remarked with a light laugh. "Missy is comforting John." Carol, noticing John's embarrassment, smiled gently and said, "Why are you upset, John? We're all comfortable with this. We've all been there, after all." Karen added, "Maybe Missy will be happy to share some of the things she's learned, and you two can enjoy exploring this together." Carol, seeing an opportunity to bond further, chimed in, "Actually, Karen and I have planned a little shopping trip for you two tomorrow. It'll be a great chance for both of you to enjoy some time together, learning from each other." A day of shopping. On Saturday morning, Bob was dressed casually in a pink silk camp shirt, white cotton shorts, and comfortable white kets. His white ankle socks had a subtle pink Nike swoosh on each ankle. Underneath, Bob wore pink cotton bikini-style underwear with a delicate lace trim and a matching lightly padded bra. His appearance was natural, with his hair styled in his usual manner, without any makeup. When John and Carol arrived, Bob was taken aback to see John dressed in the same outfit, except in a soothing lavender color. From his lavender shorts to his matching underwear and socks, John's outfit mirrored Bob's, even including the lavender swoosh on his socks. John's legs were smooth and his nails had been shaped and painted with a soft polish. Like Bob, he wore no makeup, and his short, masculine hairstyle kept him from being mistaken for a woman. "Hello, John," Bob whispered, his curiosity piqued. "Why are you dressed like that?" Carol smiled warmly, replying, "We've decided to call her Jennifer, or Jenny for short, to her friends." Karen added with excitement, "Don't they both look adorable? Their shopping trip today is going to be such fun. Now come sit down, darlings, and let Carol and I go over the plans for the day," Karen continued. She began reading out the schedule of activities for their shopping excursion. "When you first arrive at the mall, you'll head straight to Pretty Woman Nail Salon, the one with the manicurist stations by the windows. There, you'll each get manicures and pedicures, with nails done to office length. Missy, your nails will be painted pink, while Jenny's will be lavender to match your outfits. Once your nails are done," Karen went on, "head to the Wild Pear shoe store and pick out new white sandals. The sandals," Carol added, "should be strappy with at least 3-inch heels. We want your toenails to be visible when you wear them." Karen smiled knowingly. "There's a man who works there on Saturdays, and I'm sure he'll love your styles. Make sure he's the one to help you, and he might even want you to wear your new sandals out of the store. But remember, resist wearing them until after lunch." "Missy," Karen asked, turning to Bob, "do you remember that friendly girl who pierced your ears at the mall last month?" Bob's face flushed with embarrassment as he nodded. "Well, Missy, you're going to take Jenny to have her ears pierced at the same kiosk," Karen instructed. Carol chimed in, "And Jenny, I want you to pick out a cute ankle bracelet with your new name engraved on it. Let's go with Jenny for the anklet." The rest of the list included new matching nighties in their favorite colors, tennis outfits with ruffled skirts and matching panties, as well as aerobics wear, dance leotards, tights, and shoes for ballet and tap. "You'll need to finish all of this by noon," Karen said. "Then, meet Carol and me at the Hooters in the mall for lunch. It'll be a fun break, and afterward, we'll finish shopping together." Carol smiled and handed them each small, black patent leather backpacks. "Here, you can keep your keys, money, and other essentials in these." With that, Bob and John put on their backpacks, heading out to the car, hoping no neighbors would notice them.